Jude Bellingham said in the press conference today that the word he's been hearing the most around the training ground since the game against Arsenal is Remontada. It was reported that Jude Bellingham and Rüdiger got into a scuffle during Real Madrid's intense training session that focused on pressing the ball and playing in tighter spaces. According to different sources, Rüdiger put in a tackle that Jude Bellingham didn't appreciate, and the two of them had to be separated by their teammates. Carlo Ancelotti said that Real Madrid will need to play a perfect game and that scoring early is not necessary, but rather Real Madrid needs to be in the tie going into the latter stages of the match. Dani Ceballos is back, which is obviously very good news. According to different sources that had a first-hand view of Real Madrid's training, this is the lineup that Carlo Ancelotti used in training. As you guys can see, again, I'm not thrilled about some of this information being leaked, coming out there into the press, because a lot of times the information about David Alaba playing at left back and different information about who's going to start has typically been pretty spot on. So this information would not surprise me if it's accurate. Obviously, the big change is Raul Asensio playing at right back. He played that game against Real Sociedad at right back. Didn't necessarily have his best cameo, but in that match, we were being pressed by Real Sociedad from the very beginning. And Raul Asensio is not naturally a right back, but obviously what this does is allows Federico Valverde to move into the midfield. In the last game, Arsenal ran 13 more kilometers than we did. Obviously, having a guy like Fede in the midfield allows you not only to have that long-range shooting, which you'll need if Arsenal sits deeper, but it gives you more legs in the midfield, which we need in this game, especially if it's a game of transitions. One of the things that Carlo Ancelotti also highlighted in this press conference is that Real Madrid needs to hold on to the ball, that is one of the keys to victory for Real Madrid, and that's something that they worked on in the training ground. But what's interesting as well is that Carlo Ancelotti said that he had some sort of surprise under his belt for this game. And when he was pressed further on and they asked him, what do you mean by a surprise? He wouldn't elaborate. But if any of you noticed the game, the last one against Alaves, around the 78th minute mark, we saw Real Madrid do something very unorthodox, something that was shocking if you ask me. Both Rüdiger and Asensio, when we were in possession, they pushed into the box. And it's not common that your center backs are so high up due to potential transition opportunities or leaving that sort of big gap in behind us. But obviously we've seen Inzaghi do this at Inter Milan. In possession, he pushes his center backs into the box to create an aerial threat. And like I mentioned, this is something that we did in the last game against Alaves. And it would not surprise me if we see this from Real Madrid. If we see Tchouaméni and Rüdiger push into the box with Dani Ceballos and Valverde sitting back as the deepest two players in possession. If any of you watched the game today between Aston Villa and PSG, Aston Villa was so close to mounting a comeback. Everybody thought PSG was going to blow through Aston Villa, but it was literally a goal line clearance. And if Aston Villa could do that to PSG, if Dortmund can beat Barca 3-1 and make it a very competitive match, a lot of people are saying, well, why can't Real Madrid do this at the Bernabeu, a magical place where Real Madrid has made unthinkable comebacks? But the issue for us has been, there has been no consistent games this season where we've looked at our team and said to ourselves, wow, we're actually playing well. Mikel Arteta said in his press conference today that he has a lot of admiration for Real Madrid, that he does not plan on sitting in a deep block and he's not going to just come to the Bernabeu, be extra defensive and sit deep, but rather they're going to try and implement the same exact tactic that they did against Real Madrid in the first leg and be more adventurous going forward. Thomas Partey was a doubt for this game, but it looks like he's going to be healthy and he's going to make it for Arsenal, so their lineup is going to be exactly the same according to different sources. From a Real Madrid perspective, we know that Real Madrid has the quality up top with Bellingham, Vinicius, Rodrigo, and Mbappe. But the issue is, can Real Madrid not concede a goal? Arsenal is a very strong side in transition. It's unlikely that David Alaba is going to adventure too much going forward. But every time Saka has been isolated against Alaba, it has not been a favorable matchup for Real Madrid. But if there's a double pivot of Ceballos and Federico Valverde in the midfield, that is a significantly better midfield than the one that faced Arsenal in the first leg. So yes, I trust Real Madrid to score a goal. Yes, I could see Real Madrid scoring more than one goal. Despite Arsenal being a side that has not conceded more than 2 goals away from home in 18 months. They are literally one of the best defensive sides in Europe, without a question. But you can't say the same about Real Madrid. I talked about this in the last video about Real Madrid leveraging their substitutes, making substitutions before players are tired. You know, Dani Ceballos is coming back from injury. It's likely Dani Ceballos is not going to play the full 90, which means more than likely Luka Modric will come in. But I'd love to see the likes of Brahim Diaz. Let's not forget, Brahim Diaz was the one who scored the winner against Atleti. They are a team that sits in a deep block. And that goal that Brahim Diaz scored, very few players in the world can find that kind of space when he's inspired. Of course, tomorrow night will be a special night at the Bernabeu. You never count Real Madrid out. There's no club in Europe that's 3-0 down to Arsenal and people are talking about a comeback. It's only Real Madrid. It defies logic, even when you think about how poor we've been throughout this entire season, that anybody dare utter a comeback. The way we've been playing against Dortmund, the AC Milan, the Clásicos, the way we've been so piss poor this season. But that just shows you the greatness of this club. We're so great that all of our haters have combined their energies to literally just hate on Real Madrid. I want us to come back, not only to get through to the next round against PSG, which obviously Aston Villa showed us today that they're a beatable side, and we can definitely beat this PSG side, and it will be a great storyline for Kylian Mbappe, but to humble all these guys with the Declan Rice jerseys and these Barca shit talkers, like some of these haters, we're not even in the same league as some of these guys, and yet they hate us. It just shows you, because we've been going around like the plague, like we're COVID-19, destroying all of Europe. No matter what happens tomorrow, if you're a hater watching this, just remember, if you don't support Real Madrid, our club is still greater than yours. And in my lifetime, even if I live to be 100, your club will never be as great as Real Madrid. Thank you for watching. Hala Madrid.